So in this tutorial we're going to look at how we add titles and also alter titles in Premiere Pro. So we're starting off, we've got our piece of video that we've edited together, as we saw in the previous session. And what we want to do now is add a title to this. So in order to do this we need to come down to the new items icon, the one that we use for creating a sequence. And we need to pick out the one. You can see there's a load of useful things here, but right in the middle there's one called title. Click that and that offers this pane. Now what it does is Premiere Pro automatically creates a title size exactly the same as your project, so it'll fit with your project. So we just hit OK. We don't need to alter anything in that. And then the title pane comes up. Yeah, and as you can see it shows you what's on the timeline at the moment. Yeah, but also all of these kind of options for altering what we do in terms of the title. So at the bottom you'll find all of these default or sort of options for fonts, and what I suggest is you pick one. It almost doesn't matter which one because we can alter it later. And then we click on the T and we just type in our title onto there. And as you can see it's appearing in this pane, but it's not actually appearing on the browser at the moment because you're not working directly onto the timeline, you're creating a title sequence. Yeah. Okay, however, having typed in our title in the default thing, we're probably going to want to change it. So one way in which we can do that is to use the arrow cursor, and then we can just drag it around. We can make it bigger, we can move its position. So as you can see, just sort of dragging this title around to where we think it might want to be. Now one of the difficulties with titles is obviously you've got lots of different background colors and actually getting your text to stand out. So actually sometimes it can be tricky to find somewhere to place the title where the title will be legible. Yeah? So what we're going to do is just like move it around here until we find somewhere that may work for it. But this isn't the only way we can alter it. In fact, a more delicate way is to come over to the right hand column here, and you can see by altering the numbers on the X and Y position just by dragging them either to the left or the right with your mouse, we can either move the title up in a perfect up and down straight line, or we can move it side to side. Yeah. Now this gives us a lot more precision. In fact, we can also increase or decrease the width and the font sizes and the height. Pretty much anything that we can alter in this panel on the right hand side. And if you've used Photoshop before, you'll find a lot of these alterations and a lot of these tools very familiar because it's how we move stuff around in Photoshop. Yeah? Now you can also see down here, so we're just kind of like try and put this, position this sort of under that bed there. So this is going to be sort of our first kind of attempt at sort of placing it somewhere. And you can see we're using the X and Y positioning to just line that up. So that's exactly where we want it to be. And then we're altering the font size until we get the right size that we want. We could also alter the type of font. We're not going to this time. But if we come down to the bottom here, because that green's fairly horrible, we can actually hit the color picker and we can say, okay, well, let's make this purple instead. But of course, because the one we picked out is a gradient, we need to pick out the two colors. So purple on one side, let's put a little bit of pink into the other side, so the font will go from a purple to a pink. Yeah, which will also tie in with the purples in the background. Yeah, see, so that's that, and then just a couple of little tweaks to position that where we want to position it. Okay, so you can change this as much as you want to, but of course now what we want to do is put the title on there. So we close that, and as you can see there's no title on there, but if we come down to our project folder, there is actually a title sequence now in the project folder. Okay, and that's just like any other clip. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to put that onto our timeline. And the first thing we want to do is we want to actually select the video channel above the one that we're editing on. So we're going to highlight that, deselect the one underneath, And we also want to deselect all of the audio channels, because when we drop the clip onto there, we don't want it taking out any of the work that we've already done. So we're going to drag that, and we're just going to drop it roughly into place on the timeline. Yeah, and you can see now the title that we created just sits in that little space there. However, it's probably not the length you want it to do, but what we can do is grab the end of that and we can drag this out and make it as long or as short as we want. Right, so that we can alter the end point, and also we can do that at the other end. We could also alter the end point. Now, okay, what I want to show you now is that when you put something in use, you can see the line across the thing has gone red. Now, there's a little drop-down panel at the top of each window, and we've just dropped that down, and there are all of these choices. And the one we're looking for is Show Dropped Frame Indicator. There it is. Just going to click on that. Now, when we do that, you see a little green light comes up there. Now, even if the line is red, yeah, which means that it really needs rendering, if that button is green, you can still play it without rendering. If it's yellow, it means there are drop frames, you need to render it before you can play it. Okay, so altering our frames, our thing now, we're putting a little dissolve on the end so that it dissolves out at the end. Yeah, but we've put that in. But what if we don't actually want it to be in the position that we put it in, our first position? And I think on this clip that's probably right. We probably, rather than having it there, we'd actually like to put it into this dead space in the top left hand corner. Well, this is actually incredibly simple to do. All we do is double click on the title and our edit panel comes up again. As you can see. Now, as we can see, what's in the edit panel matches what is on the timeline. Yeah, so whatever we alter in the edit panel now will also change on the timeline. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the X and Y position movements again, and we're going to position this title in the top left hand corner, yeah, instead of under that bed, which was just kind of our first idea. Just moving it up, and we're just putting it into about that space there, yeah? And we can see that it's dropped into that space there. It's all legible. That's okay as our start point. Okay. We're quite happy with that. Now we're just gonna minimize that down for a second in case we need it again, if we need to make any alteration. However, when we see, look at that end point, that's dropped into exactly where we want it to go, over that shoulder. He comes in, sits down, and the title sits just there. And that's how we position, edit, and alter a title in Premiere Pro.